I should play the clip. And I find this really interesting. I guess partly because I think it kind of exposes how people might be thinking about this wrongly, or maybe I'm just not getting something. But I think I am. I think I'm hitting on something fairly deep in the sense of answering the question why Jesus died. But I'm really wanting interaction. I want to be challenged on this, or just have a conversation about it. But I've noticed with the Calvinists, I find it very odd, and I think it is a result of not quite putting it together right regarding the source of sin, how sin happens, why it happens, and what God's doing about it. But I say this all the time, and I feel like people are scared. They run from this conversation. It feels like, okay? It feels like. Maybe I'm just an idiot. But maybe somebody could help me and explain why I'm just not getting it and why I'm an idiot, but I can't even get that. But I get a lot of weird reactions to this. Look, someone will say, or the rogue Calvinist was listening to Warren McGrew talk about the Yetzer regarding like the issues of total depravity and the Hebrew concepts. I think it's a mistake to ignore Hebrew concepts. They wrote the Bible by God's providence, so their cultural ideas are implicitly in the background of the text that they are writing. So it's a mistake that's common in church history to act like there wasn't a culture that wrote the text. But that aside, he was saying something like, why would we listen to these people who killed Jesus? So I don't want to critique that. That could use some critique, obviously, but it always makes me think of, so I asked him if, and he kind of had a bad reaction to it, but I was like, I look at it like this, like my sin killed Jesus, my sin. And yes, of course the Jews killed Jesus. You know who else killed Jesus? The Romans killed Jesus. You know who else killed Jesus? Satan killed Jesus. You know who else killed Jesus? God killed Jesus. Right? Jesus willingly went to the cross, knowing that they would kill him. So I'll ask this question. Didn't our sin, that is you and me, the believing persons, didn't Jesus die for our sins? And Calvinists have the weirdest, the dumbest reaction, in my opinion, because they believe in penal substitution. Why would you have a problem with saying that our sin killed Jesus? See, this to me just screams that you guys don't understand the nature of sin and where it's from. Deep down, you think God is determining sin, which is like the deepest, wrongest idea I can imagine, to be honest. Not that God isn't sovereign, but the mystery of iniquity does not come forth from God other than that he created all beings. But this is the problem with your theology or your doctrine. You end up blaming God for sin. Wasn't planned that Jesus would die and then God made it so we sinned so we'd have a reason to kill Jesus. Jesus was willing to die for sinners, knowing that they would sin and he would die for their sins. Get it through your head, man. This is probably one of the biggest questions in the Bible. God doesn't make us sin so that he could kill Jesus to save some of us and then blame the rest of us that he caused to sin. Sin is birthed through man's corruption that isn't from God. It's from the world. It's from Satan. An enemy has done this. Jesus doesn't want us to think that God causes everything that comes to pass. Otherwise, he'd run a millstone around his neck and cast him into the sea. Now, go back to the drawing board.